And I want you both to know them. So watch what you say. All right, Alex, sorry to put you on the hot seat, but here's the first question, and then we're just gonna kind of go around the room. Alex, have you been or do you currently sit on any other boards? And if so, what are or were your roles on those boards?
Yeah, so I'm not currently on any boards or commissions per se. However, I am part of a regional waste shed, which involves different municipalities in Larimer County, including City of Fort Collins, City of Loveland, Town of Estes Park, and Town of Wellington. And currently, my role is kind of one of the lead technical advisory staff for implementing some of the goals in the SWIMP, or the Solid Waste Infrastructure and Master Plan. So I'm intimately involved in that group and looking to really kind of let the rubber hit the road on a lot of those projects, and put that plan into action for Larimer County and for our surrounding municipalities.
Thank you, Alex. And then I'll go to you, Taylor.
So I am not currently on the other boards or commissions at this time. Historically, I've served as like a staff liaison to several councils within city and county senators, advisory council of record, and I did serve briefly on the Front-End Waste Board of Directors about a year ago, but I changed jobs, and so I didn't seat on that one, but I am familiar with kind of how the boards operate and the commitments involved with.
Thank you. So I'm currently on the Second Colorado board. For president, previously I was a vice president. I've also been a second representative on the policy committee, previously national business representative. And also have been very active in Colorado Composting Council in Colorado. I also currently serve on the board for the Grassroots Ultimate. We run tournaments and leagues for Ultimate Frisbee in Boulder and Louisville counties. Yeah, go to Frisbee. I also previously served on a citizen committee to the Pollution Advisory Board, where we mostly worked on our radio grants. I also was a founding board member previously for Sustainable Resilient Longmont, great group that's been growing a lot in the last few years. And let's see, I had one more thing. Oh, I'm also running for city council of the city of Lafayette. Lafayette, look like in calendar. I think that's it. Thank you.
I not on any boards. I do attend the Resource Conservation Advisory Board and the minutes for that. And previously, last year I was on the board of the social fund, and it was awesome. I was the chair of the committee. Member of sorry, I'm a current member of the foundation based out of Rockford, Illinois, and I was that board for 3 years and serve as a member, but we focus on grants for recreational and art infrastructure in the Rockford area. And I am a current member of Build Reuse, it's the national nonprofit that's focused on construction and demolition debris reuse and recycle. I am a member of the CAD Council here, Recycle Colorado. I've been part of that group for the last 4 years, and a member of Recycle Colorado for the last 10. And I also have one thing I was going to mention that I'm forgetting it in this moment. Not coming out. I'm not running for city council, but I hope that
I currently serve on the boards. My second-year run of the college a year ago, and I took a year off and I could break, maybe back into it. I do know it's been on full of the board.
currently I'm not a member of the board, but I work on a number of national working groups for EPR, working with the states I've served on 4 boards over the course of my career. Probably the 2 most interesting, what I was, one of the first members of the professional network board here in Colorado, where we brought young professionals, help them network and help them build skills and build their careers, understand what it means to be in the sector. And also it was a board member for Sheridan, if anyone is from the Boulder area, it's a very old annual toy drive that provides for students.
I do not currently sit on boards, and if elected, this would be my first experience on a board of directors. In the previous role, in working in nonprofit as a staff member, I had that intersection of the advisory board and board of directors. When I worked at the National Renewable Energy Lab and their Innovation Center, I worked as a staff member directly with the Venture Capital Advisory Board there. And then when I was at Institute of Ventures, I started the incubator in Northern Colorado, worked directly with our board of directors there. And currently, the Robotics, we represent the company in quite a few industry associations, including the recycling partnership and various coalitions, including the Polypropylene Recycling Coalition, Film and Flexible Coalition, and I also represent the company of the NAPCOR, which is the National Association for PET Resource and quite
So I probably served on 20 to 25 boards in my life. Currently, I am on the Mile High Flood District. I am on the Aurora Economic Development Council. I'm the Aerotropolis Regional Transportation Authority, Adams County Regional Economic Partnership. A lot of acronyms, just a lot of different boards. In the past, I've served on the Eastern Arts District, HOA boards. If anybody wants to know what the most political board you can never get on the board. Not guilty. And then as I mentioned in my introduction, I'm currently not a council member of the city of Aurora, and my re-election or election day is December 7th. So vote for me. Yeah.
Hello. Thank you guys so much. That was your first grueling question. And Liz, do you think it would make sense to just go back to Alex now too? I want to make sure that we're keeping everything in line here.
I like the idea of ping pong so that it's not the same person going first every time.
Okay. Lovely. Well then, we'll start with you. Dave, how will working where you do, sorry, that's kind of confusing. How will working at DIA or then influence your contribution to Recycle Colorado? And then kind of second question, are you able to contribute and make decisions based on the benefit of the membership and organization, all, in connection with where you work?
Thank you for the question. Yes, no, certainly, I think working at Den, formerly DIA, hard to let go of DIA name. Right, we're a large generator of material, so that's one thing, right? Working really closely with our hauler, so understanding their challenges and their needs, right? And that's a huge part of what we do day to day. Also, right, we are basically a small city, and so making sure that we're responsive to the needs of our concessions operators, our airlines, and other tenants that are at the facility. We're also owned by the city county of Denver. So understanding from that perspective too, as a large municipality, what are the challenges, what are the burdens, that we take on as a city. Also previously, right, I was working for Eco Products, so working with large generators, also seeing it from a business perspective, a B Corp perspective, and also working directly with composters too, so understanding some of that perspective as well. So I think I have a lot of different perspectives that I can bring to the board, and also certainly, from Dan being chief among them. From your perspective,
So working with Burley County, we have jurisdiction over unincorporated County, which is, figuring that out. It's not as much of a reach. So in my position as community outreach manager, I make sure to work with municipalities as possible, sustainability managers, finish municipality. We're really lucky to have a lot of those people working. So I deal with a lot of wonderful people and, yeah, so pulling the expertise from different people and, figuring out who stakeholders are and who is an expert on what, and how can you bring them in is something I feel capable of doing, and I actually really enjoy doing. Also a lot of face-to-face or Zoom to Zoom, I suppose. Yeah, like hopping on the call is much easier than trying to figure out how to do, and having those conversations is where the leadership happens. And then the second part was. I can repeat it, like, are you able to contribute to make decisions based on the benefit of the organization based on where you work? Yes. Yeah, I feel like in my position as community outreach manager, like things I have to be aware of, and yeah, I feel like I can make some good decisions for the whole state and on behalf of all of the Colorado. I have a small business perspective and foresee conflict of interest. I also growing up in rural Illinois, I understand rural challenges. We still don't have recycling in our small town of Illinois, and our family burns the trash in the backyard. So I know what that's like, and then as a small business owner, I have 13 employees, and there's a lot of priorities to balance. So have to bring that perspective, and I am working closely with nonprofits that are taking the reusable material. So working with them along with other cities like City Boulder Task Force Group for their community group. So very much focused on building policy to help the community, and then also building partnerships with nonprofits and other entities.
I think my experience at Waste, both Colorado, we see a lot of generation of materials, with Carolina and City of College and generation of consumers bringing in, batteries and wood, and compost, that kind of stuff. So I get to see a lot of that material out there and market for it, something like that. And I think one of the things I thought in the previous time that Colorado was really making sure that everybody's perspective and their history and their views were heard. It's critical that as we make decisions before going forward, that it's all of us. We can be really happy that hearing all those sides, making good legislative and decisions for that Colorado makes a difference. And then if we frustrate an entire segment by policies before without hearing them out first and understanding that, I think we deserve it. So it's something I can talk about. Historically, I could do want to do that.
I mentioned before, one of my favorite things about my job is getting to work with all put on the state and getting to learn about all the things that are happening and draw the connections between this program happening there, that other city over there is doing some more things, might be able to learn from each other. And so that has been something I've done both through EcoCycle and again through the Rural Colorado Policy Committee. And one of the other things I've actually really enjoyed have been working on the state policies I've done and getting the feedback from stakeholders, not just the this was awesome feedback, which is always lovely, but also I have a problem with this, or this piece of the bill is a challenge for me because I'm not getting that kind of feedback because then you can really connect with people and understand, okay, so what do we need to do to fix it? How do we make concessions? How do we make a better bill that will obviously not make everybody happy, but to shift and make it better for
Yeah, so my experience with data robotics is touched on briefly earlier. It's quite broad reaching, not only in Colorado, but across the country and even internationally. And I think that will be a great advantage for Recycled Colorado. We work in C&D sorting and We work in federal electronic waste sorting here in the United States in terms of paper and packaging, recycling and sorting across the US, Canada, and in Europe. And so that kind of breadth of exposure and look at different solutions that really fit the advantage of being inside of Colorado and goals connected. Those experiences include, particularly related to what's coming to Colorado, our work, and my work in particular, with PROs in Canada on their transition from 50% funded EPR to 100% funded EPR. So I have a lot of direct experience seeing that transition, seeing moving from a more limited recycling system into a fully funded system. And I think that would be a key aspect for recycling Colorado. EPR is fast, the implementation now is the hard part, and how that happens over time is something we can contribute to Canada already. I am certainly supported by Amp Robotics and encouraged me to become a board of directors. But I'm certainly aware of our infrastructure in Colorado. So I want to make sure that I'm cognizant as a board of director of any type of conflict of interest or any kind of other specific or real. So as a board of director, we certainly want to rely on that as well as collaborating with my colleagues to make sure I'm not in that position. I want to be aware of that at all times as well.
Yeah, I think my role at WM, in quick tangent, I feel your pain, Ben. If I call it WM Waste Management one more time, since we recently rebranded, I can just because you're pain. I think my role at WM, because I work with a lot of folks in this room in cities and counties all across the state every day, to help them meet their sustainability goals. And, I feel like that is going to bring a lot of value to this Colorado. And so I think there's a lot of natural synergies with what I do every day at WM to decide Colorado. In my role on city council, I interface with the legislature a lot. So for those who don't know, we're the city of Colorado, the 40th largest city in the country. So I interface with legislators, both state and federal all the time. And so that again is giving me the ability to even influence potential legislation, whether it's state or federal level. So that's again some additional value that I can bring to the board. And to David's point, I certainly encouraged to do this opportunity by again by WM. And so they're certainly supportive, and so there's no issues even between the mission and the carrying the mission of the Colorado.
So if I haven't answered those questions, I'll go next. So as a consultant, all of my work is project-based, so at any given time, I have 5 or 6 different projects, different clients, so I'm really used to wearing many different hats, and making sure there's no conflict of interest anywhere working. So I'm really got pretty adept at navigating that, so I think that is a skill that would be helpful for this role on the United Colorado board. I also think that that's an advantage or something I can bring to this board is kind of like Chris mentioned, sort of connecting the dots and knowing how pieces are working from various projects that I might work on as starting where in the country. And then kind of speaking to Recycle Colorado, serving all of Colorado. I live in Denver and I work a lot in the urban area of Colorado, but I also understand rural challenges. This environment here in Florida is a lot different than a Friday morning in downtown Denver, and so there's big differences. And I certainly, I was actually born in a town with 50 people, so I understand what rural means. So yeah, I think I can bring that all together pretty well.
Alex.
Alex.
Yes, Alex.
All right. Yeah. So I believe that I'm able to help make decisions that benefit the organization as a whole. I know that diversion is a difficult task to overcome, and I know it starts small from a local standpoint, but the policy really has to come from a state level and work its way down. Of course, I have a little bit more leverage in northern Colorado, as that's kind of where my influence is. But just seeing the way that things are being able to disposed of and what can be recycled or recovered, I think the policy is absolutely critical coming from a state level. So I think that's kind of where it stems from. I'm sorry for taking up this entire wall, and I feel like a giant up here. So thanks for bearing with me on that one.
You look good, Alex, you look good. All right, before I go to the next question, I just want to apologize for my very, very septic cough. I went on a trip many weeks ago now, found a new friend called COVID, and I'm totally over it, it's fine, but it's really, so if I pass it off to Liz or Allie, and you're like, where did she go? Just to have a coughing fit, so fun stuff. So this next question is going to be really quick. So let's start with Rachel. Are you able to vote on matters of the organization of Recycle Colorado? And do you have any restrictions at all in terms of voting? And I should have stated before, as a board director, when we're voting on lots of really important stuff, and just wanted to quickly go through and see if you have any restrictions on being able to vote if you were to be a board director of Recycle Colorado.
Being able to vote, don't know of any restrictions that I have, even though that Recycle Colorado is working on the DOE grants. Be a subcontract now, don't know how to do it.
Now go to Tim.
I can vote, no restrictions.
I can vote, no restrictions that I know.
I can vote, no restrictions, I know that.
Cool, capture these. This is the vote
And I can also vote with no restrictions.
See, that was so easy. Okay. How about just one more serious question? And then a couple fun ones that I did not tell you guys about. So don't get nervous. It's gonna be about your favorite dance moves and performing them, but it's not a big deal. I don't want to combine these questions because they're somewhat similar, but I guess it's sort of a two-part. So if you were to be on the board of directors for Recycle Colorado, do you have a policy or a project or an event that you really want to bring to Recycle Colorado? If that's not necessarily the case, what do you see Recycle Colorado doing to improve recycling in Colorado, and how could you help with that? So they're sort of similar. I hope that's not too big of a question. And let's start with Anne. And I guess, Tia, if you could kind of hold it on.
Great, thank you. I am very interested in two things to bring to the board. One is the B&B perspective. And we talk a lot about recycling cans, and then we throw away entire houses. As you all know, about 30 to 40% of our waste is made up of construction and demolition debris. I think there's a big opportunity to help adapt building codes on the state level to include more reclaimed materials so that it's easier to use them in new construction. And there's precedent for that in Oregon and Washington. So there's some small, easy changes we can make there that would really help the contractors. The second thing is, as a recipient of the board and our RMRB open, we know how helpful it was and how much it supported our business. So I think there's a lot we can do to help, like I said, to help the implementation and also make sure more qualified people are applying for those funds and bring those people in. And then something I wanted to mention earlier is, my trajectory before my starting my business is I started working in policy with Senator Bennett on environmental legislation.
Then went to EcoCycle, I got to work on the universal zero waste ordinance that, required recycling and composting, then I moved to be part of, Boulder County as a sustainability advisor, so then I helped businesses implement that policy, and then I went from the county to, the private sector, so I've been able to kind of connect the dots, and I'm really interested to make policy that, that works and is successful, and being on the receiving end of it, having to comply to it, I know what that looks like, so also bringing that, to the group is what it looks like to comply. So a couple of different things there.
So from a project standpoint, Liz and I have worked recently on the DOE a grant application for our family waste education, recycling. I think that's important. That is a huge challenge for Colorado. But it's more dangerous and common problems, so we're not knowing correctly and educating both the state and the world on what they should be is pretty exciting. So I thought that recently brought, I want to see that do more. And then from a what do we like to do to improve and be more effective? I think we've done great policy work. Those are huge pieces of legislation that really attract what they really do. And I think focusing on those over the next few years and making those embedded and everybody having a chance to work on those and making them the best they can be, I think really will help Colorado.
Here, continuing to work on fiduciary responsibility to have been educating lawmakers and these last couple of months, and continuing to make sure that the implementation involves all the voices, all the stakeholders, and not just from within the sector product, but also reaching into our context to help facilitate that. That continuing our battery working group, making sure that continues to roll forward so that we do get some legislation hopefully in one of the next.
I'd like to focus on the Summit for Recycling. I first got to look at that in 2016. We found our ramp robotics in County Harbor, and I went there and pitched robotics at the time, and we got to do some other kind of really super up. I think that's another thing to the staff and the board. So I think it's very important to focus on. It is really part of recycling the Colorado role as a convener in the state. There's a lot of different aspects and groups working on different parts of the solid waste and beyond of the waste stream in Colorado. And that to me is very important to bring that all together. Particularly at this time, Colorado is being viewed as a leader in recovery, particularly with our drug system. So that would be a specific project that I would like to focus on and continue to support and grow. And where can we think Colorado continue to improve? I talked about it earlier. I think the implementation of APR is important. There's going to be maintenance needed there around policy, probably needs an important role for this organization. And then I think there's an opportunity there that opens, and that is for municipalities really to think about their interaction with the photo on packaging. Does that create an opportunity and cost savings where we can start approaching more gas? Because that's a big part of our waste stream. And Recycle Colorado is active there and continuing to push that forward and continuing those two are important. Where they keep getting deeper, which is also important. I think it's market development because circular economy is an economy, and for Recycle Colorado to truly be a leader of carbon control, we do want to close the loops. We want industry obtaining this material and using it in Colorado, and Colorado is not the most advanced manufacturing state. We look at using plastic and metal. I think there's roles for us to get deeper involved in the kind of economic development that we could be receiving these kind of secondary materials.
I think for me, one of the projects I'd like to see is Recycle Colorado be more involved with education of consumers what isn't recyclable? And it sounds very basic, but I want to give a couple of anecdotal stories. So I was presenting to a civic club a couple of weeks ago. And the very first question is, and everyone gives them a laugh, the very first question I got was recyclable material in the landfill? 2023, we're still, I'm still hearing that question. Last fall, in the middle of Denver, Colorado, and Alameda, there was a big billboard that said plastic recycling is a myth. So these really basic things, we're still fighting even in 2023. And there are a lot of great programs that a lot of the folks in this room and others are coming up with, and there's state programs and other things. But I think at a really basic level, there's a lot of still needs to be done, educating residents at a basic level, what is and isn't recyclable, and making that process really easy. That's a goal that I think Colorado to play, working with municipalities, working with school districts, working with civic clubs, working with some of these other groups, and really making that process really easy. And because that's, I think, the number one way to increase conversion is make it easy for consumers to know. When we did the exercise this morning, I think we all, and we kind of laughed about it when we made our waste suggestions this morning. We went around, and this for the people who do this every day. Think about the people who don't do this every day. People who have 3 kids, just need to get dinner on the table, they work 2 jobs, and all the other things. Literally, the last thing on their mind is, where do my batteries go? Or do I need mindless cardboard boxes? Do I need to break down my cardboard boxes? All these things, and we do this every day. We're investing in these things. So think the average consumer, what they're really coming from. And so I think that's really something that Recycle Colorado is working with these groups, municipalities, and others to help with that education piece, to make it easy for people to know ultimately.
Right, so something a really big benefit I see presenting Colorado is the kind of recycle word that was already used, is a convener of a lot of the people and ideas in the state. And so I think that the summit once per year is a really, really valuable opportunity to get together with this group and the larger network. But I think that convening portion of Recycle Colorado is like just such an important thread. And there's already the smaller councils working within Recycle Colorado. So I think keeping those really active as like testing grounds for those emerging topics and emerging areas that the organization could be exploring is really key. And so if C&D topics come up or projects within that domain need to make it needs to be elevated to like policy or some other facet. I think that's a really big benefit of getting all of us who work in various areas of the sector together to talk about like all these things from any one topic to digging through it and getting to the bottom of it, what actually needs to take this from there.
What a great question. So God, I echo a lot of things that I'm hearing. Organics, right, is on my mind. C&D is definitely on my mind. EPR implementation is most certainly on my mind. But a few of the other sort of minutiae things I thought about, right? I really feel like we don't really have the large generators. The generators generally of material, their voices, right? In terms of the all arenas, the CIA. So like, I've thought for a couple of years that we really should have a generators council within Recycle Colorado. So that's one idea. I would say also more generally, we've made some progress on incorporating ourselves into the climate discussions, right? Making sure that zero waste circular economy is understood as a climate solution. We made progress, but we still have a lot of ways to go still there. So I think that's definitely a big piece on my mind. And sort of the final thing I'll say, something the board's been focused on in supporting our staff and hearing all the great things that we need to be doing is capacity building. We have to continue to grow this organization. We need to get more staff hours on the clock. So, I think there's lots of ways to accomplish that. We're working on a lot of them, the grants that we're working on. programming that brings in additional revenue to support that staff. So there's lots of things we need to be doing, and sort of how to do that. I think we have to continue to build this organization. So a few of my thoughts. Thank you.
I think something that Recycle Colorado is doing very well and wants to continue to do is consistent meetings, and the meetings are well attended. The class circularity meeting last week had 30-something people on it. So I think there's so many opportunities, the snack and shares, all those meetings are opportunities for us to get together and talk about important concepts. And then also lobbying. Lobbying is awesome. I was very nervous going to lobby day, and it was great. We put on it very well. I feel capable and competent going in and talking to people. 2 projects. Battery PR, Shelley Fuller did not push me. No one particularly people are saying batteries are an issue, looking at the work in the recycling center, fires, and batteries and helping the site. And then the other one, speaking of community outreach is cultural responsiveness and nutrition language and cultural exchange. Figuring out how to reach more demographics, individual demographics, who, are struggling to get dinner on the table. And if they can't afford to pay their rent, recycling services are going to be, they're not going to do that. And so meeting them where they are, figuring out what kind of things they need. They need grant funding for their multifamily unit. What do they need to make this diversion possible? Because it's something they want to do, they just may not be able to do it. And so, figuring out and going into the community and figuring out what's important to them and how we can help them along the way.
And now Alex.
All right, yeah, I think I have a lot of the same visions and the ideals that everybody else in the room is sharing. Coming from a tonnage perspective, seen at the landfill, like Anna said, the C&D material is by far one of the heaviest materials, and that would help us achieve a lot of our diversion goals alone. Following that is the organics, of course, trying to divert some of that wood waste. And I would really like to see more education for developing the end markets for these materials. For example, as many as you know, Recycle Colorado supports Springback Mattress. They have a great facility, and through them, we were able to implement a mattress recycling program just simply because those end markets are available. So now we're able to divert about 1,000 mattresses and box springs a month from the landfill because those end markets are there and they're willing to break down the materials and get them back and send them back to market. So I believe trying to catch it on the tail end might be a solution dealing with this waste from developing end markets.
Awesome, thank you so much. I just realized that I failed to mention before I started this grilling process that there should be some time after this for you guys to ask your own questions too. So I was going to say, keep those in mind, or, as you're listening to the answers and stuff, if you have certain things that you would like to ask some of the nominees for the board, write them down, and we should have time. So, but since we have you, Alex, outside of waste diversion, what are you super passionate about? What is your most loved hobby?
Yeah, I think just being outside is probably the top. Growing up in Wisconsin, being outside and flipping over boards and catching snakes and looking for bugs and things was something that was always great. And it's probably the most fun to see my 3-year-old let a praying mantis crawl across her arm and be so excited to kind of learn about just this natural environment. So I really just love anything outdoors.
Awesome, and let's have Rob start over here.
I certainly love swimming a lot of time with my wife and daughter. But one of my most beloved hobbies has been back up the sea. And I probably pushed it to the extreme. I guess how much I love it. About 10 years ago, I published an online guidebook, the Sea Mountaineering on the front range. And since then, I've written 2 guidebooks. That including one for birthday pass and really for loved one pass. So kind of taking it to a fairly intense hobby.
That's what we want to know.
So between, WM, city council, and 3 little girls, I don't have a lot of free time. But when I do, I like to play golf, and I also like Hallmark movies, which is strange. But Christmas Hallmark movies kicked off. Well, there's a reason I like that, is because I work a lot, and so to have like an hour and a half where I don't need to think about anything, you don't have to think about Hallmark movies. It's great. No judgment, it's great. So, Christmas Hallmark movies kicked off October 16th, so.
You're right, we have a I also feel like I need to get your signature on my copy of your not very good, but this is a little top one. Okay, well, we're getting this one. I also enjoyed talking to seeing and also kind of a copy of this all things outside. Like to really rock time and it was good for you as well. Very, very complicated. And sometimes I take my cat for a walk around a very short walk, but I'm really
I love it. So in winter, I love to ski. I don't really go to that country, but love to ski. In the summer, ultimate frisbee. I run frisbee tournaments all around the state now. Actually, we had one in August that I was running. We got one tomorrow actually in Nevada that we're running. So anyway, but one thing, and also scuba dive when I can. But one thing I've been doing the last couple years that I've really been loving is doing agility with my dog. She's not that good at it, but she loves it, and I love it. So it's a really fun thing for us to do together.
Yes, I mean, talk,
We're going to cycle car, yeah, I'm 5-year-old. So we're getting out of the constraints because I don't know, passions are starting to come back, which is very exciting. So I think right now it's just like being outside, yeah, and bought a house in Louisville and just doing backyard with the garden and just like just go out and like go around and like just stepping out and house doing something. Being outside and I also enjoy ultimate frisbee and backcountry skiing, and I am, a few years ago, I bought a 20-year-old raft and I love getting out on the river. This summer, I took a 3-day surf water training course right here in Celeste, and then I'm gonna flip a raft and swim through your class 2 rapids to save people and, move them safely and whatnot, so I'll keep doing with that, the raft and getting out when I can.
So I have 2 things I can talk about the most. I have 3 kids, 27, 31 years. Without a wedding yet today, one of my kids' best friends. And probably 30 of those kids, and my wife and I talked about their memories of people. We've been camping probably for 32 years, recent for last year, and it really helped me figure out with my kids. And their friends, a really great a lot of fun. And my youngest one, Mitchell, is a property guy. He does mining technicians on college shows. So he's probably on the road and out doing things, and I can go see him a lot. Plenty of time to go see him. Give me a reason to get out and go somewhere.
I also, having grown in Colorado, summers in Wisconsin, very much love the camping and skiing and playing this. But I'm gonna go with cooking. That is my passion. Nothing fancy. Get it on the table with people, but my favorite days are me and my brother and mom with like they all come over and the kids and we all are in the kitchen making applesauce or cooking or whatever.
Thank you. And we had asked Alex And then it's funny, I had one more question that I just made up this morning, and it was, what was your absolute, or what is your absolute favorite thing about living in Colorado? But as you guys are answering, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be everything you just said. So, thank you so much. Wow, let's give the audience a chance to ask questions. You have a question, ma'am?
I'm Johnny Reedman, and lived in Denver for many years, and then moved to Westcliff, Colorado, which is not a rural community, it's a frontier community. So we average about 5 populations per mile, no, 5, what was it? I lost the definition. Are you familiar with frontier? Frontier is a lot of Colorado. It is, I wish I looked up the definition when I lost it. Population is about 5 people per 5 miles. We're about an hour from here. Up until a couple of years ago in RRO, we didn't have recycling. Now we have work. We have people that come from Salida, Kansas City, Huerfano County. Everybody drives an hour to recycle. We can't do glass recycling because if we were to haul it to Denver, which is the nearest place, we lose money. We don't do plastic because it seems like ones and twos is all that we can get in our area. And so people get together with their neighbors and they take their bottles and their ones and twos to Pueblo and do their shopping, because that's the shopping area. Some good restaurants besides hamburgers, you know. So my question is, what about those of us that are distant, that have, and we have a limited landfill, someone was talking about, we have landfill space that state engineers tell us will just opening up the last space. I think we've got 25 years left. So our marketing is save landfill, extend life landfill. We don't talk about it's the right thing to do because then we get labeled retards for tree huggers. So there is a large part of Colorado that is like us. And I know that you come from an urban metro area that even for tolerance. What can you do for us on the board besides, I don't know, just leave it out there.
Awesome question. Karen, you want to start?
Yeah, what can you do for you? Yeah, I mean, coming to your community, listening to your residents, finding what they need. Yeah, it who basically, they have, what percent of the population is going to be making that public trip? Who's coming to the landfill? Who's burning in the backyard? Who's doing what and how can we help them? I think that's the first step, is finding out the needs and then, you know, figuring out some steps for that.
So I want to touch on one thing that you said, how, zero waste recycling, it can speak to a lot of people across the political spectrum. So I think we should be really proud of that, first of all, because we can really talk to a lot of people, right? We can be the gateway drug to sustainability for people. We've been that for years. So I just want to appreciate that you said it. So the REO program, as a great example, has been thinking about hub and spoke for a long time. And I think that's how we serve all of Colorado, whether it be frontier or rural or urban, making sure that there are systems in place to collect material and get it actually recovered. The other piece I'll say too is I think we need to continue to stay focused on end markets, right? If we can increase value and materials on the back end, it then becomes financially reasonable to haul, right? So, we need to make sure that we understand the economics of the system and continue to push in that way so that we can actually serve you, right? It's not just making sure you have service, making sure you can collect it, but making sure the system can sustain itself and give you service, give you access.
And those are great suggestions so far, and I would add to, you know, connecting in with the rural, council. Working group for rural Colorado, and the second Colorado would be a great place to start, you know, with, that, and then I think also drawing on the strength of a rural community and, perhaps like an agricultural background, exploring the low hanging fruit of, do you have an organic system in place and composting, whether that's supported at household or if there's maybe a small scale, organics program that can be implemented in the community, that could be another, option, kind of meeting your community where it is and providing some ideas, to improve the system from that.
Yes, absolutely agree with leveraging grants to help support local communities and rural communities. And I do feel a little vulnerable that I shared that our family burns trash in the backyard. So that's safe in this term. The other thing is leveraging our great network, all the relationships that we all have, and using the rural council as a jumping off point, using that group to help connect the dots, because there are so many small communities facing the same exact challenges. So using our relationships to help build that network and making it a priority as part of the strategic plan and then building up that.
And we've got to hope that UPR is going to help level the playing field out there for collection. And recycling is critical. They will touch about it. Collection is not recycling, right? Collection is collection. And if you collect it and go to the great, right? Obviously, collection you know, to go on that. So we've got other markets. We've got to have infrastructure that collects cleanly and makes it valuable, so that we do have that side that can fund the collection plan. So.
Joy, 7 years. But I would also underscore that the Rural Colorado Working Group has been tremendously important as far as sharing ideas about what's happening in their communities and the big bills that we've worked on these last couple of years, the producer responsibility bill. That group absolutely, we would every month we met and she would mean what we're doing monthly when we were working on that. But you know, I would bring a section of it and be like, hey, y'all, we need rural input on this particular section of the bill. Can we make sure that my wording is right or the wording is right? Same with the bill we passed last year, same with the one about composting. We wanted to make sure that we had the right wording to make sure that we were getting at what rural communities really wanted and not what, like you said, as urban folks thought that rural communities wanted. And I will admit that my wording was wrong multiple times and I was corrected by my own friends. So thank you for all of that.
Certainly like that echo the UPR aspect of this. Is hopefully what we can see is the implementation. And I think Recycle Colorado's goal in that will be to really be a voice for rural areas. I mean, if you take a step back and think about the goals and objectives that the PRO will have, they can meet a lot of the recycling objectives by simply focusing on the front range, right? It's 85% of the population. But Recycle Colorado plays this role as an advocate, right? As a convener and an advocate. And the rural working group is part of that. So what we want to do is work in partnership with the PRO. We want to show them these are the interactions in the rural community. This is how the material is moving now. And I think there is also a role for the rural group and the policy group to really look at what is the kind of policy or lack of policy interaction between some of our counties. Are there policies that need to be implemented at the county level in order to help support EPR? and to get access for you in the community. For example, we need to look at flow control. Are there ways to move material around certain counties so we can optimize hauling, get a deposit for you, whether it's curbside or in your community? So I think there's a lot of really kind of intricate aspects that are coming up enabled by EPR, but that this organization can continue to advocate for rural. It's going to be a very interesting time over the next 3 years as we look at how the system is really going to be enhanced because of this new opportunity.
Yeah, these are conversations I have all the time as I'm meeting with city towns across the state where, a couple weeks ago I was in Mountain Town and they want to add organics collection to their service and they want these services, but unfortunately the infrastructure is not there. And I think the role that Recycle Colorado can play in that is working to influence policy at the state level, because that's the role that the state can have, is whether those are grants, whether that's legislation, the variety of influence the state can have to build out that infrastructure, to bring these types of services to rural communities. And I think that's really where Recycle Colorado board can have. I think the other piece of it is what David mentioned, it's really kind of influence the value of those commodities, because ultimately that math problem needs to work out. Those commodities need to have value when you go sell them. So ultimately, if they don't, then it doesn't pencil out, and so there's something doing it. So we need to make sure that when we go sell that commodity, there's value there. So we're trying to focus that. It's really important to do.
All right, and Alex?
Yeah, I would like to echo a lot of the same thoughts that were currently shared. Again, there's a lot of funding available through the Forward Grant and the TASK program to try to implement these probably single stream recycling collection areas for these rural communities. And if you can tailor it towards a commodity, if it could just be like aluminum cans, for example, or something to start, just to make the economics of it work out. But hopefully some of what is going on with producer responsibility, we might be able to recognize some of these rural areas where, we might see a need for more single stream drop off locations. So if we can bring that to an area where people have a desire to recycle material, then maybe the funding is already out there and ready to be implemented, and the engineering can be provided through the Forward Grant funding as well. So I know that's kind of like a bigger picture that Recycle Colorado has been working on with the rural recycling program. So really just looking to hear it straight from the community like this, and looking to implement those receiving areas for you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have one rapid fire question. So I'm gonna let Chris ask the question, but I want you to answer it in less than 10 seconds. So get ready.
Okay, so, what is one example, one way that if elected, you're going to build a more diverse and inclusive community?
It was too good of a question, not Chris. Chris.
So I think from my perspective, we only have 10 seconds. So you can
This is so fun. Off the top of your head, what's one thing you could do?
I think bringing in voices that aren't normally represented. Aurora is one of the most communities in the whole country. And so I think I represent people who aren't normally involved in this conversation. So we can all bring that conversation when they're not.
I would also look at diversity in terms of participation with downstream markets, so fundraising, money into the organization from consumer packaged goods downstream markets in Colorado, and potentially in Colorado to be built up a policy.
the stakeholders who weighed in on the bills or who have been wearing Mason on the bills that we brought in the last couple of years. And we've already been reaching out to them, building those relationships, so just kind of.
I think we've got to find ways to reach out on the community and hold events and have webinars and sessions that are inclusive of the folks who are not being going to our big events.
Stakeholders from the construction industry. I'm part of the association for general contractors and all every utility guild. I bring in contractors, developers, architects, and interior designers to help think about construction and demolition.
Attending events that are coordinated, the routine of Chamber of Commerce and other organizations who have, civil separated as they come in their events and showing the.
So we have a super diverse workforce at the airport, and I would encourage, right, more than to participate, and also more generators generally throughout our state. And their workforce throughout the frontline folks that are moving material and really understand the system.
Definitely on a high level, I think networking with a lot of the other organizations like Chamber of Commerce, and other diversity organizations, that other audiences in our audience, and then just on a more personal level, making sure everyone has like different ways to provide input, whether it's verbal, written, just catering to whatever someone's input or preferences would be to be in the voice at the table.
And Alex,
Yeah, try to promote inclusivity across everywhere. I mean, everybody wants to do the right thing and recycle, so try to make it as simple as possible and bring everybody in and get on the same team.
thank you guys. That was excellent. Okay, before we just completely give it up for all of our candidates for the board of directors, I want to quickly say, the town government member will be able to begin voting
Hopefully next week.
hopefully next week.
So
Yes.
just look at the email or do newsletter or something. I'm figuring it out. But I think next week I'll have the ballots out. Everyone can start voting.
We're gonna have the ballots out next week and they will be open for 2 weeks after they are released. So look in your email for Recycle Colorado and make sure it's not flagged as junk or spam.
Yeah, absolutely. And go to the links in the center here to watch people's videos again too, if you felt like you missed something. But for now, just seriously, give it up for these candidates from Golden State. You're dismissed.
All right, we've got about 10 minutes before we start the next section. So please stand up, mill about. Don't forget, we've got some networking opportunities.